Today we're talking heavy sole. Now I don't mean Paul Weller's album from 1997 entitled Heavy Sole. I'm talking about the heaviest running shoes in my collection. What a great album, incidentally. I think I'll talk about this one at the end in the musical interlude. So today I'm going to go through and unveil some of the heaviest running shoes that I've got within my collection right now. People seem to be quite interested in the lightest and the heaviest, so here they come. These are in no particular order, by the way, and I've basically looked at the 5 heaviest shoes that I've currently got, at least in the rotation. There's one I'm going to include later, which is a shoe that I've retired, but it needs a mention. So absolutely one of the heaviest right now is the ULTRABOOST 21. I picked this one up earlier this year. This one weighs in at 402 grams in my UK size 11.5. And it's by some margin the heaviest shoe that I've got in my collection. Even heavier than the Nike Tailwind 79 Retro. I think that's about 375 grams. And the Air Max I think is even lower than that. So yeah, definitely the heaviest I've got. Certainly quite a bulky shoe, but most of the weight I think is taken up by that Boost midsole. Quite a few comments actually have been made about the fact that a lot of the Boost that they've added isn't really underfoot, and I've got to disagree a little bit with that. There is some excess boost around the edges here, but the majority of it is underfoot. Most of the heel counter here, or at least that clip around the back of the heel, is plastic, and then the boost just joins underneath it, so it's a bit of an optical illusion. Absolutely a long run shoe for me, this one. All very easy recovery days. Just where I want some excess cushion underfoot, perhaps if I've done a much harder session the day before. In terms of performance, I would suggest it's quite a niche shoe. It occupies a very specific area. Not sure I want too many shoes like that, where they've just got gallons of cushion. I just don't really need that in my training right now. Maybe if I was running, 20-mile long runs every single week, then great, but I don't think that it's something that I need all the time. I think it's a big improvement though on the ULTRABOOST 20 that came last year. The profile of the midsole just feels way better to me. There was something odd about that ULTRABOOST 20. It just didn't seem to work for my specific running mechanics. There was just something there that didn't quite happen. It's the 20s here. They do look a bit odd because I've stolen the laces to put them in another shoe, but it's mainly to do with the actual drop. The boost actually feels a bit different in this shoe as well. It feels a lot more compressive. It's a little firmer in the 21. I think what they've done really is actually reduce the amount of rubber that's on the bottom of the 21 and replace it with a bit more boost. This comes in around about 378 grams for my UK size 11, this one. So if you add in the laces, it's getting on towards the same weight as the 21. It does appear that that boost material does come with the disadvantage of adding heft, with the advantage of some real durability and extended lifespan, delaying running discontinuance. I always found the upper a tad sort of heavy on this shoe. Didn't really fit that well. And it does feel that they've made the 21 profile a little bit better. It was all down to that fit and that heel area. It just didn't work for me at all. I had some dreadful blisters and just rubbing. Oh, it was bad. So I really did include this here just for some comparison between it and the ULTRABOOST 21. If we're talking weight, we've got to talk the Nike ZOOMX Invincible Run Flyknit. Size 11, this one's 345 grams. So 55 odd grams lighter than the ULTRABOOST 21. It's still right up there though in terms of heft. It's odd that Nike have paired the lightest, most compressive and highest energy return midsole foam with quite a considerable upper. I mean, it's extremely padded, and of course you've got a lot of rubber there on the outsole. I gotta say, closing on 30 miles already, some of the small rubber pieces here are starting to wear down. I will be taking this one on a long run on Sunday. Gonna take it up to about 15 miles and see how it fares. So I've got to say that outsole does make this one of the most versatile of the heavier shoes that I have. It works on loads of different surfaces. It's been really superb in the wet and windy conditions of recent time and has treated me to terrific traction up to this point. So that Invincible Run does share a higher weight with its cousin, the Infinity Run Flyknit 2. Only a couple of grams lighter, this one, 342 grams. Is it the lighter upper here, perhaps, that means that they balance out? Certainly React foam's always supposed to be a little bit heavier, a little bit denser. Certainly found that with the original version of the shoe, and also that Legend React 3 shield that I tried out earlier this year. I think it must be Nike's intention to increase the protective elements within the Invincible run to try and improve the stability there of that very compressive foam. Don't quite need it as much with the React foam in the Infinity run. ZOOMX is just vastly more unstable than React foam. Just never really feels unstable, this shoe. A good everyday slugger. Both of those shoes though are heavyweight contenders within my collection at the moment. Coming in at 355 grams or 12.5 ounces is the Hover Machina from Under Armour. I gotta be honest, I used to think this shoe was quite bulky until I got the Adidas ULTRABOOST 21, and now it feels quite light in fact. As I've delved more into higher weight shoes, then this one just doesn't feel anywhere near as heavy as it did when I first got it. So this of course features an array of technology underfoot, as it were, aims to help improve your running form by giving you access to loads of stuff like cadence, stride length, and obviously a foot strike as well. Though I've been thinking more and more about foot strike and how certain tech picks that up. If you imagine, some people could have their foot strike analysed by how the underside of the shoe hits the floor, whereas of course this is looking at where your foot internally is hitting the footbed, I suppose. So I'm sure that they'll come up with slightly different results, and I'm sure that being a lighter runner, sometimes those pieces of tech just don't quite work out as well. Of course you get those pace and distance metrics as well, and I've even managed to sync this shoe up to my Garmin watch as well. It comes in as like a very basic foot pod. I do find it a little odd that Under Armour chose to beef up the padding and protective elements around the shoe. It does make it a little bit less of a versatile tool, which is a bit of a shame really. I have chucked in these toggle laces to try and bring the weight of the shoe down a little bit, and switched out the insoles to something a little thinner. There was just too much cushion there for me. Didn't need all of it. Quite a different approach to the midsole here, where they've got this almost like spiderweb mesh that cages in the midsole foam. It's almost like a containment system here. Quite unique. Interesting, they use some type of wax here in the midsole material, and it's certainly not an EVA variant. It's quite different. And you've got a Pebax plate in the shoe. Very, very similar in fact to the one that you find underneath the ULTRABOOST 21, that LEP plate. Here it's called the propulsion plate. I think it serves the same kind of purpose though. This is a shoe on my taper week that's coming up. I'm going to give a second chance. I think I'll miss some of the data perhaps that it uses. I don't really want to take my phone out with me at the moment. The weather's somewhat inclement. So yeah, we'll give the Hover Machina another bash this week. So one last shoe for you, though retired, I think it's worthy of a mention. The ASICS Glide Ride. So I reviewed this way back in 2019. This one clocks in 336 grams or 11.9 ounces. But when it comes to maximal cushion, this is one you cannot leave out. There's loads of cushion in and around the heel collar there and the tongue. In fact, one of the most plush tongues of any shoe. I've got to be honest that this shoe represents the closest thing that I can think of to the Invincible run from Nike. I think in terms of profile and weight and intended use as well. Gotta say, it never really felt that heavy on foot, this shoe. And I'm very keen to actually try out the Glide Ride too if they've managed to limit the weight a little bit. This was a really great long run shoe and supremely durable as well. Keen to see how that one shapes up when it's released. Okay, so that's a rundown of all of my heaviest shoes in the collection right now. Let me know down in the comments as to what the heaviest shoes are within your running shoe rotation. A quick musical interlude for you. So yeah, certainly Heavy Soul by Paul Weller did inspire today's episode. There's some real winners on here. Peacock Suit, for example, the second track is just Paul Weller all over. It's got a real strut to that one. You can almost imagine a peacock walking in front of you, dressed in a mod suit. I really like the track that's smack bang in the middle of the album, which is called I Should Have Been There to Inspire You. It's quite a range of tunes on here as well. You always know you're going to get some varied tracks with a Paul Weller album. Does take me back though, 1997. The charts were full of music with melody, guitars, really interesting production. Always felt quite alive and real. Not too sure we got that now. All just sounds a little bit processed. It sounds a little bit isolated, and it certainly sounds like one person's made it. It just sounds so much more interesting at times when you had a load of people in a room making a sound. It just provided a bit more variety. There's a bit more spice to it. And one of my favourite guitar players is on here guesting, Steve Craddock from Ocean Colour Scene. That man can play. So do go and check this one out if you've never heard of it before. Heavy Soul by Paul Weller. Okay, that just about wraps things up for today. Thanks for sticking with me to the very end. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when I launch those new videos. It really does help the channel out too if you give this video a thumbs up, like, and also share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you